BattleBots is airing on December the 3rd on the Discovery Channel in the USA. If you live in America and you're lucky enough to have Discovery Channel, BattleBots is airing on Thursday in about 6 days from when this video is released at 8 PM. And to celebrate the premiere, Discovery Channel are putting on BattleBots for the whole day from 11 AM to 8 PM, which is absolutely awesome. That sounds like heaven to me. So if you have the opportunity, go and watch that. Go and support the new season. The rest of us, when the new episode is released, we're going to have to find another means of watching it, but that's fine. Okay, apologies for no video last week. I was not very well, but we are back this week with a fresh episode of the test box. Unfortunately, this is going to have to be the season finale because I'm going to be doing episode reviews from now on. But it has been a great series, and it's been really fun to make, and thank you all so much for your support on it. Let's get into our first robot of the final episode of the test box. Okay, so that was Grabot, and Grabot is a robot that we have known about for a fairly long time now, but there we saw it in action for the very first time. Basically, it's just a simple two-wheel drive robot, and it's got a massive wedge on the back and two little lifting, grabbing arms with saws attached to the back of them. People did not have high hopes for this robot at all. They don't think it looks competitive. I think it could be competitive if they led with the wedge, because then they'd have kind of a defense from spinners, but as we saw in the video, it tends to rear up, so that's probably not going to work against verts. The arms are very fragile, and so is just generally the front part of the robot that's facing the front in that picture there. It looks like it could get torn apart very easily. The grabbing arms themselves are quite cool. They move up and down, and they literally, the hands spin around with the saw blades on the end, and they can grip things and try and pick them up. They didn't do a very good job of picking up the brick. I don't know if they didn't get enough grip on that, or if the servos in the arm just aren't strong enough, but I'm not sure. Either way, I don't think it's going to be lifting any heavyweight robots off the ground completely, which is a shame. But still, just one comment I'd like to make on this robot is it literally looks like a Robot Arena 2 machine. I could design those arms in Robot Arena 2 and they'd work exactly as they do on the machine, which is awesome. Another thing I noticed about the machine is that the wheels seem to do a lot of wheel spin. So the wheels, they don't seem to get a lot of traction. The ones they used in the video, they were different to the ones here. They didn't seem to get a lot of traction. They seemed to have a lot of over rotation, they kept on spinning, but the robot wasn't moving properly. So that could be an issue, especially if the BattleBots floor has just been resurfaced, which it has. So that could be something to watch out for. And Grabot is a very cool machine, but I don't see it making the top 32, unfortunately. Moving on. We have Fusion, the new Team Waiachi robot. It looks absolutely incredible. I'm kind of over the whole thing where everyone was like, oh my god, it looks absolutely amazing. It does, but we've seen it for ages now. That was the first time I've actually seen it hit something. That was an old video as well. It was released several months ago, and it was hitting something with the drum spinner on the back, and it sent it literally the height that Hydra sends things when it flips them with the flipper, which is incredible. So, of course, deadly weapon on the back, on the front, the horizontal spinner. That is just as deadly. They haven't released a video of that hitting something, as far as my knowledge goes, but I'm sure that's just as effective. One thing I noticed from that video, I don't know if it was the aspect ratio or something, but Fusion's horizontal spinner and general body just looks so much, like, thicker. I used to think it was, like, quite a thin robot, but now it looks very, like, chunky. Looks very thick. Which I suppose it has to be if it fits all of those electronics. They have like 8 stacks of batteries or something to power the 2 weapons, and it has to sit in between them, which is absolutely incredible. I don't know how they've managed that, but they have, and it looks fantastic. It's very quick. It drives very well as well for like a tubular machine with too much power. They've released some other videos of the spin up, and it sounds like a jet engine, which is incredible. So Fusion, it's hard to gauge how well it will do because we haven't actually seen it fight anything yet, in terms of armor and stuff, so it could be an absolute contender for the title, definitely. Whether it will win, I don't know, because obviously it's a new robot, so it might have gremlins and stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Moving on, we have the second of the 3 Team Waiachi robots entering this year. We have Hydra, and Hydra, of course, is the flipper that stunned everybody last year, by making it to the top 16, by beating Free Shipping and Bronco, among other robots as well. And it's a hydraulically powered flipper. To this day, I don't know how they've managed that, and it launches things very high in the air, as we saw in that GIF. Yes, that was a GIF, not an actual video, so that's why it was kind of like a time lapse. So Hydra's flipper is just as powerful. It's not the durability of the flipper that I'm worried about, and the power of the flipper, because we know that works. We know that can chuck things through the air. It's the fact that it got eaten by Minotaur in about 5 seconds. That's what concerns me, because obviously it made it to the top 16. It's going to get tough for opponents this year, and if it can't stand up to horizontal spinners like that, then it's going to get absolutely mangled. I have every faith in Team Waiachi that they fix this problem, because Minotaur really exploited the weaknesses at the side very quickly, and it was like a big disappointment for me, because I really enjoyed watching Hydra throughout the season, and then it got mullered in like 2 seconds, and it was a bit disappointing. So hopefully they fix that problem this year, made the robot a bit more durable. But of course it was nice to see the flipper in action again before the season, so great job from Team Hydra, I think. Moving on, we have Team Malice, and Malice is, of course, the horizontal disc drum. I don't know. It's not a disc, or it might be a disc. I don't know. It's a spinning thing. It's a I don't know. But anyway, the spinner at the front, it's very chunky. It's very dense. It's single tooth, and it spins at ridiculous speeds. The robot is very compact, and a lot of weight goes into the weapon. It's called like the Big Red Disc or something like that. It's a very threatening name. So that was Malice in its spin-up test. They've released drive tests a long time ago without the weapon spin-up, which is it just drives normally at normal speed, average speed. Of course, we saw them in the trailer as well, fighting axe backwards, and it looks like they have a mini-bot, which we haven't heard about, and it shoots fire. Malice, of course, in that video was absolutely terrifying. The weapon makes a lot of noise, and it spins up very quickly, as you would expect from a spinning weapon of a small diameter. The weapon tooth is made of AR500, I believe. I'm not completely sure on that, I'll have to fact check that, but I believe it's made of AR500, and the robot is invertible, as we saw in the video. It is very maneuverable, very quick. So if in terms of how well it's going to do, I have absolutely no idea. If it's fighting axe backwards, I think it's absolutely going to win that fight. Against tougher opponents, I'm not sure. Because the wheels are exposed, but I've heard that they have got wheel guards as well. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem. It's just one of those robots where we'll have to see it fight in the arena in order to know how well it does, because it's really hard to predict these things, okay? Right, moving on. we have Kraken, and Kraken was testing its new flamethrowers. I believe that was a test of the new Kraken, not of the old one. If it wasn't, I apologise, but still, the new Kraken has flamethrowers, and we saw it in the picture with Black Dragon that it has flamethrowers. It's got the absolutely powerful pneumatic crusher at the front there, and the long narrow wedge, and of course the two wheels at the back. So, analysis of Kraken. The flamethrower doesn't look as powerful as like Free Shipping's flamethrower or Gruff's flamethrower. It's kind of more for show and for the judges. I don't think that's going to damage anything. Also, it's not positioned at the end of the mouth. It's kind of towards the side of it, so it's not going to be shooting fire directly into the face of its opponent like Warhead did. It's just going to kind of shoot towards the side a bit, which is interesting. They might have changed that, but I'm not completely sure, because of course we haven't seen any of these robots in action yet. Anyway, Kraken is of course the same like kind of fundamental design, a long wedge. That did not help it against vertical spinners or Son of Waiachi, I have to say, because basically the robot rears up, it gets an uppercut from a vertical spinner and it just flops on its back. It would be a very competent robot if it didn't do that, but the whole kind of design means that if they put a wheelie bar in, then it would get stuck on its back, which is not good either. So Kraken is just is a bit of a tricky one when it comes to self-righting, but the team I'm sure have worked a way around that. The Crusher is surprisingly powerful when its teeth don't get ripped off. Last season it was able to bite through the weapon guard of Grabot, which I was really surprised about, and it was also the previous season able to bite down on Lockjaw's weapon, so it does a little bit better each year, and it does quite, I think it's going to make the top 32 at least, because it seems to have good control over its opponents, and of course we've seen it in a picture fighting Black Dragon, and it had control of Black Dragon, so who knows, they might be able to bring the Crusher down onto some weapon belts and stuff. It's just a really good, very durable machine, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make it all the way to the top 32. So that was Valkyrie, well, 3 Valkyries. It's not Clusterbot, it's just 3 different chassis, and they all work, which is excellent. We saw 2 with like discs, and 1 with this new fidget spinner tri-bar weapon thing. It looks absolutely incredible, as I've mentioned before. The paint job, everything about it just looks incredible. That was a very old video, like I said. About some of the videos in this episode are a bit older. Valkyrie is, we've known about it for quite a long time now, that it was going to be upgraded and it's going to have some big changes and stuff, including the weapon. The weapon looks amazing. I've said it many times, but it does. A problem that I've noticed with Valkyrie is its traction. Again, I was going to say that the surface might be different to the floor of the battle box, but the floor of the battle box is going to be like an ice rink if it's just been resurfaced. So Valkyrie was struggling with traction a bit in that video, skidding about all over the place. This wouldn't be such a problem for Valkyrie because it's not going to do any pushing, and if it does, then it'll probably lose because it's not got a wedge or anything. It's just big weapon underneath the robot. But still, it's not good, especially if they get turned upside down. Like last season, we saw them get flipped over in its fight against Ragnarok, and it kind of struggled a bit driving with the weight of the weapon on top of it. So it's going to be interesting to see, because again, they're going to get inevitably put up against vertical spinners and stuff. We saw them in a fight against Rotator with the angular wedge on Rotator. They're probably going to get flipped over, so they're going to have to see whether they can sort out traction issues before the fight, or several of their fights. We don't know how many fights they have. I don't know. By the way, I'm not a supporter. I don't know anything about the episodes at all. Right, moving on. have our final robot of the test box series, and that is Deadlift. And Deadlift is a robot that can deadlift other robots. It is a lifter. It can lift 250 pounds like we saw in that video. That was their spare crate thing that contains all the spares for their robot, and it weighs more than the weight limit, and it was able to lift it no problem. I thought the lifter was going to be faster than that, I have to say, but it can still lift, and that is what matters. The robot itself, like I mentioned before, it looks absolutely really clean and effective, and everyone in the team can deadlift the robot, which is mightily impressive. Another thing I noticed when researching for this video is this team is called Team RoboGym, and they've built like so many like lightweight robots and featherweight robots. Go to their Facebook page. They're really good. I'd not heard about them before now. But yeah, we saw Deadlift there, and it was deadlifting, and it was carrying around, and it was doing what a lifter does best. And that is a strong way to end this kind of series. Thank you very much for watching this series and supporting it. This series has kind of earned me hundreds of subscribers and a lot of support, so thank you very much, all of you. And I look forward to start making episode reviews next week. Until next year, bye bye to the test box review, and thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.